We had some extremely interesting developments in the Beatriz Villarroel VASCO project story, where her papers, which I believe last time we spoke here on the live stream, were not yet peer reviewed. They are. They have now been officially peer reviewed. The results are in, and it seems like whatever these transients are that she talks about in her papers, they're there. And other scientists have confirmed that something highly, highly anomalous is going on when it comes to this story. Researchers working with the VASCO project, which scanned archival photographic sky survey plates from the 1950s, have identified a large number of short duration transients, which are star-like flashes that appear in one exposure and then vanish. Many of these were captured in plates from 1951 to 1957 and are puzzling because they predate the satellite era, basically the Sputnik era, guys, or Apollo missions. And when we know that reflective orbiting objects begin to proliferate, which was after that, but she found all these before that, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Beatrice was at the Seoul Symposium as well, so we will get Suzanne's exclusive thoughts on that. But she also was on NBC News. All the major outlets are covering this: ABC News, CBS, NBC, BBC, Associated Press. This story is making the waves in the mainstream like never before. And we have an interesting interview with Gotti Schwartz over at NBC News, interviewing Beatrice about this. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. We'll talk a little bit more about this on the other side, and then we are going to get to our, I believe, last two stories before I bring in Suzanne. So let's go ahead and watch Beatrice and Gotti Schwartz over at NBC News.
Now is one of the authors of both of those papers. Beatriz Villarroel, she's an astronomer at the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Stockholm. Beatriz, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations on both these papers. Let's start with as simple of a question as possible here. These lights in the sky from before Sputnik, were these artificial objects orbiting Earth before we were ever in space?
From what we see, these kind of transients or flashes that you see, they have a very interesting feature. You usually get these kind of flashes when you have something that is very flat and very reflective, and in a, let's say, in a geosynchronous orbit at, let's say, 42,000 kilometers
wait, hold
altitude.
on. Very flat, very reflective in geosynchronous orbit. That doesn't sound
around the Earth,
natural,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, and the funny thing is that we can show that there are solar reflections because there is a deficit of them in the Earth's shadow at these altitudes, and that means that at least a fraction of the transients of these flashes that we're looking at, like 30-35%, appear to be due to these solar reflections of such objects. And if we think about that, these are before these transients come from images taken before the first human satellite, they do look pretty artificial. Although I would say that nature can always surprise us with things that we just can't imagine right now.
But I got to ask you, you know, there are thousands, tens of thousands of these, if I understand it correctly, maybe even more. What did you think when you started to see a correlation between nuclear testing that was going on around that same time, also these UFO sightings that were happening around the United States? That correlation, did that stick out to you right away? Were you kind of sketched out by it?
Well, like the first time when we saw that, it was by coincidence. My friend David Altman, he tells me about Washington flap 1952, and then by chance I discovered that our best candidate when we were looking for our land transients also came from the same Washington 1952 flap, just from the other weekend, because it was distributed over 2 weekends. And I was like, this is weird. And then that was what formed the hypothesis that we wanted to test. Is there a correlation in time between these transients and UFO events? And we see it's a weak correlation, but it's statistically significant. and we find that.
I mean, you strike me as a very open-minded scientist, which is what science is supposed to be all about. But what do you think this might be?
Well, I mean, here we can only speculate wildly. If we look at the numbers, like just from the northern hemisphere, we have 35,000 transients. I don't know how many of these come from what. I mean, one object could give several transients, but it's also possible that we're missing a lot of transients. So I would estimate it to be somewhere between tens of thousands to maybe 100,000 of objects, or 100,000 of objects or so around the Earth. And artificial is a possibility. Who knows? Like if it's some ancient space trash from some past civilization, or if we are having some probes that came from another planet. I don't know. I hope that some astronomers that are like well trained with working with this kind of data, I'm talking about professional astronomers, that they will want to try to redo the same analysis, both with Palomar but also with other surveys and other plates. I mean, other plate surveys in particular, because that could really be helpful. Because we need to see if this result can be replicated with other surveys, and if it is, then it's going to be extremely fun, or not.
As a human on planet Earth, who made this discovery, what's the significance to you?
I just want to know what these objects are, and I want to know why they are here.
You and me both, Beatrice. You and me both. I want to know. I want to know what love is. I want to know what these transients are. Wow. Don't know what that was. Why am I so blurry? Everyone in the chat is saying I'm blurry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with our live streams lately. Ugh, it is so frustrating. But we will get through this. We will get through this. Imagine it's the podcast and you're just listening to the show. But either way, hey, maybe we can boost up our bandwidth with your super chats and super stickers. Help support the show. We're at what? I think we got 4 so far. Thank you guys. 3 or 4. Something like that. I haven't checked PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee, but I will in a little bit. This is an awesome story. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Beatrice does stress, and this is very important, guys. Very, very important. Caution is key here. Caution. Correlation is not causation, and there are plausible, mundane alternatives such as photographic plate defects, storage contamination, or any other image artifacts. Also, if the nuclear test hypothesis is correct, there's no direct way to reproduce the effect today due to international treaties banning such tests. In the end, the flashes remain an intriguing mystery open for further investigation. So there you go. There you go. Awesome nonetheless. Look, skeptics always ask for peer review on these things. You fucking got it. Okay? So stop the bitching, stop the moaning. You got the peer review. Do we have an answer as to what the transients are? No. Do we have peer review? We do. So just shut the fuck up. Okay?